Posted October 3, 2017. 123,059 in what is being heralded an Australian first. Mitchell Shire Council has invested $5,000 towards books for people with dyslexia. The council bought the books, printed using a specially designed font called dyslexia, in response to community feedback. Dyslexia font, designed by graphic designer Christiane Bohr, who also has dyslexia, gives every letter its own unique form and puts extra spacing between letters and words. The books will be available at public libraries throughout the Mitchell Shire from October. Council said it would consider purchasing more books in the future. "I think anything to make life easier with people with conditions like this is wonderful," Mitchell Shire Mayor Rhonda Sanderson said. "We have got a range of books for adults and children, because dyslexia affects both adults and children," she said. Dyslexia diagnosis liberating. The council investment in books for people with dyslexia will also be an investment in people like Walter Smithers. Mr. Smithers did not read a book until he was 17. He had collected books throughout his childhood, but always relied on others to read the stories to him. "I was always passionate about stories, but I reached the point where I thought I'd probably never read books for my own enjoyment. It took a long time, and I worked very hard, and a year ago, I finally read my first book out of pleasure." When Walter was younger, it was obvious he was struggling to read and write, especially when he was stacked against his twin brother and classmates. According to his diagnosis report, that Mr. Smithers received when he was in primary school, reading and comprehension took 5 times the normal cognitive effort of an average person of the same age. He said the diagnosis, severe dyslexia, was liberating. It meant people couldn't just think, "Oh, you're dumb," which is great, because it's hard not to feel dumb when you're young. "It's very cognitively draining, so just for a small bit of writing, I get quite tired," he said. Condition is different in everyone, but, regardless of a diagnosis, the condition is still misunderstood. Julie Maslin of the Australian Dyslexia Association said it was common for people to think the condition is an excuse for laziness or unintelligence. It couldn't be further from the truth. Many intelligent people can struggle to learn to read and write. But people still don't think dyslexia exists, Ms. Maslin said. Roughly 10% of Australians have dyslexia, according to the Australian Dyslexia Association. People with the hereditary neurobiological condition struggle with aspects of reading, spelling and writing because of differences in the way the brain processes information. It can go undiagnosed for many years, depending on how well someone hides their difficulties, Ms. Maslin said. Many people can't hide it, because it becomes quite a shameful thing. Steven Spielberg wasn't diagnosed until he was 60 years of age. And, because dyslexia occurs on a continuum, it presents differently in everyone. Mr. Smithers said words were like codes that needed deciphering. For others, the white space between words and sentences created distracting rivers. But despite the difficulties faced by people with dyslexia, research shows they often develop greater strengths in problem-solving, creativity, and innovation. For someone like Walter Smithers, the Mitchell Shire Council's investment is encouraging. He said it would make people talk more about the dyslexia, raising awareness and normalizing the condition. "People with dyslexia have lots to offer," Mr. Smithers said. "I definitely think it's worth putting money and time into changing the system." Topics: books, literature, disabilities, education. Broadford 3,658, Kilmore 3,764, Wallen 3,756, Seymour 3,660.